Let's talk about statics. You can have static local variables and static global variables. Speaking of local and global variables, if you don't know what those are, check out the previous videos I did in the description below the like button, C++ playlist full of information. With that in mind, let's get started. So what is a static variable? Well, if a function is called more than once in a program, the values stored in the function's local variables don't persist between function calls. So look at our static example 2. We have this int var is equal to 1. Every time we call this, it's going to start with var equal to 1. That makes sense, right? Every time we call this, we get a fresh iteration of this method. However, if you want your program to remember the value that's stored, you can do this in a local variable between function calls if you use the variable static. So if we look at static example just above it, you can see I have basically the same exact code. The only thing that's different is that we have a static in front of this int right here. Let me run this and I'll tell you about the difference. In this one right here, we first start the method on its first call, which would be line 28. We start it at 2 because it starts at 1, but then we have this plus plus and we're printing it out right here. So it's going to start at 2. You can see local is 2 right here. And after that, we're going to call it again on line 29. But you can see that it increments, and that's because with this static in place, it remembers the last thing every time we call this method. This variable is always going to have memory. Now, if you look below it, these last 4 calls, you can see it's just 2, 2, 2, 2. And the reason for that is we're calling a static example 2, which is the same thing, but without the static. Even though we have this plus plus right here, you can see it doesn't remember that we've plus plussed the previous times in our other calls. So that is the difference between static and non-static. You can use this with classes, you can use this with methods. This is so great if you want your variables to remember something and not just start again when they are called again. That's pretty much it for static variables, local and global. If you want more C++, remember that playlist below the like button. And if you have any questions, I love talking with you guys. So leave a comment below and give it a like if it helped. Have fun on your studies. That's it for today.